Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are getting into a choice a lot of photographers are facing, comparing two really capable Canon cameras, the EOS R7 and the EOS R8. They share the Canon name, sure, but they're aimed at pretty different users, wouldn't you say? It can be a tough call if you're trying to figure out which one fits.
Oh, absolutely. They look similar, same RF mount, but underneath they're fundamentally different tools.
Right. So our mission today is basically to unpack the key specs, cut through some of the marketing noise, and really help you figure out which camera, the R7 or the R8, aligns best with what you want to create.
And the place we absolutely have to start, the thing that shapes almost everything else, is the sensor. It's the core difference.
Okay.
The R7 uses an APS-C sensor, the smaller format. The R8, on the other hand, packs a full-frame sensor. That single difference really sets the stage for this whole comparison.
Gotcha. So let's dive into that sensor difference then. The R7 first. It's got a 32.5 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. The big headline there is often the crop factor, right? The 1.6x.
Exactly. And that 1.6x crop factor is, well, it's a huge deal for certain kinds of photography. Think wildlife, think sports.
So practically speaking, what does that mean for someone out in the field?
It means reach. Pure and simple. You put the same lens, let's say a 300 millimeters on both cameras. On the R7, that lens effectively behaves like a 480 millimeter lens because of the crop.
Wow, okay.
So you get significantly closer to distant subjects without needing a bigger, heavier, and frankly much more expensive telephoto lens. Plus, with 32.5 megapixels, you've got a lot of resolution there for capturing detail and even cropping in further later if you need to.
Okay, but here's a question then. The R8 only has 24.2 megapixels, but it's full frame. Isn't more megapixels generally better for detail? Why wouldn't the R7 just win on resolution alone?
That's a really common point of confusion, and it highlights the trade-off perfectly. Yes, the R7 has more individual pixels, but the R8's full-frame sensor is physically much larger.
Right, bigger sensor area.
Exactly. So each of those 24.2 million pixels on the R8 is bigger than the pixels on the R7. Bigger pixels capture more light. Simple physics.
And more light capture means better low-light performance.
Precisely. Significantly better low-light performance. Less noise at higher ISOs. Plus, you generally get wider dynamic range, more detail in the really bright highlights and the deep shadows. And of course, there's that classic full-frame look.
Ah, the shallow depth of field. Bokeh.
Yep. That creamy background blur that makes subjects pop, especially for portraits or more artistic shots. That's much easier to achieve, generally speaking, with a larger full-frame sensor like the R8's.
Okay, so it's immediately a fundamental choice. Do you prioritize that extra telephoto reach and the high resolution for cropping flexibility with the R7?
Or do you go for the R8's superior light gathering, the dynamic range, and that sought-after full-frame aesthetic? It really depends on what you shoot most.
That makes sense. So image quality is one side of the coin.
Yeah.
But what about capturing action, movement? The R7 seems positioned for speed with that reach. Does it deliver in practice?
Oh, it delivers. If speed is your game, the R7 is pretty clearly ahead here. We're talking 15 frames per second with the mechanical shutter, which is already very respectable.
15 is good, yeah.
But switch to the electronic shutter and it jumps to a blistering 30 frames per second.
30, wow.
And it's not just the raw speed. It has Canon's RAW burst mode, which includes pre-shooting.
Ah, the feature that buffers images before you fully press the shutter.
Exactly. So for unpredictable moments, a bird taking flight, a batter swinging the camera, can actually capture the fraction of a second before your finger fully reacted. That can be the difference between getting the shot and missing it.
That sounds incredibly useful for action. How does the R8 compare on burst speed?
Well, that's the interesting thing. Canon's specs for the R8 don't really emphasize the mechanical burst rate in the same way. It can shoot fast electronically, sure, but its overall design priority seems to be more about single-shot full-frame quality rather than sustained super high-speed bursts like the R7.
So if you're spraying and praying, hoping to catch that peak action sequence,
the R7 is built for that. The R8 is more about nailing focus and quality on each individual full-frame shot, maybe in shorter bursts.
Okay, speed is one aspect of action. The other is stability, right?
Yeah.
Especially with those longer lenses, the R7 encourages you to use. Shaky hands are the enemy.
Absolutely. And this is another major point of divergence. The R7 has 5-axis in-body image stabilization, IBIS.
Right. And that works together with stabilized lenses.
Yes, it coordinates with Lens IS. Canon claims up to 7 stops of shake correction, depending on the lens. That's huge. It means you can potentially shoot handheld at much slower shutter speeds in low light, or keep a long telephoto lens steadier without needing a tripod quite as soon.
7 stops is significant. So what about the R8?
And here's the kicker. The R8 does not have IBIS.
No IBIS at all.
None. It relies entirely on stabilization built into the lens, if the lens has it.
Wow, okay. That feels like a really critical difference for practical shooting.
It is. If you often shoot in dim conditions, or you like using non-stabilized prime lenses, or you're doing a lot of handheld video, or using those long lenses we talked about, that R7 IBS is a massive practical advantage. The R8 forces you to rely solely on Lens IS or other stabilization methods like tripods or gimbals.
Good point. And just quickly touching on the physical side, the R7 feels built for that kind of outdoor, potentially rougher use too, doesn't it?
Yeah, the feedback often mentions its more rugged feel, the deeper, more comfortable grip. It weighs a bit more, around 1.1 pounds, but it feels substantial, like it's ready for adventure.
Okay, so R7, speed, reach, stability, rugged build. Let's pivot now. Where does the R8 start to pull ahead? You mentioned the sensor, but what about other tech? Autofocus seems like a big area for Canon lately.
Definitely, and this is where the R8 showcases some of Canon's latest advancements. Both cameras use the excellent dual-pixel CMOS AF system, which is great, but the R8 gets the newer generation, dual-pixel CMOS AF2.
And that means more focus points. I see the R8 has like 1,053 AF zones versus the R7's 651.
The number of zones is part of it, offering finer control. But the real magic in the AF2 system, especially on the R8, is the processing and the deep learning behind it.
Ah, the subject detection stuff.
Exactly. It's not just finding faces and eyes anymore. The R8 system is trained to specifically recognize and track people, obviously, but also animals, dogs, cats, birds, and even vehicles. Things like cars, motorcycles, trains, airplanes, even helicopters. Oh, and horses, too.
Horses. That's specific.
It shows how sophisticated the algorithms are getting. For you, the user, it means the camera is just incredibly sticky. You tell it what to focus on, and it locks on and tracks it relentlessly, even if the subject moves erratically or turns away briefly. It makes complex focusing scenarios much easier to handle.
So less fiddling with focus points, more trusting the camera to nail it.
Pretty much.
No.
Especially useful for those hybrid shooters doing both stills and video, where reliable tracking is key.
And speaking of video, that seems to be another area where the R8 really stakes its claim, particularly for more serious content creators.
Absolutely. The R8 steps up significantly for videography. First off, the quality. It shoots 4K video at up to 60 frames per second, but crucially, it's derived from oversampling the full 6K sensor width.
Oversampled 4K, so sharper, cleaner footage.
Generally, yes. Noticeably more detail and fewer artifacts compared to standard 4K capture, and it does this uncropped, using the full width of that full-frame sensor. You also get full HD up to 180 frames per second for some serious slow-motion effects.
Nice. But maybe the biggest video spec difference is recording time, right?
That's probably the R8's killer app for many videographers. The R7, like many stills-focused cameras, has a recording limit, often around 30 minutes per clip due to heat or other factors. The R8, it can record 4K continuously for up to 2 hours.
2 hours, continuously.
Yep. Subject to battery and card space, of course. But for recording events, long interviews, performances, that removes a massive limitation compared to the R7.
That's a game changer for certain types of work. Any other co-video features on the R8?
Yes, it includes professional color profiles like Canon Log3 or C-Log3 and HDR-PQ.
C-Log3. That's for color grading flexibility in post-production.
Exactly. It captures a flatter image profile with much wider dynamic range, giving you maximum flexibility to adjust colors and contrast later and to match footage with higher-end cinema cameras. The R8 also has features geared towards social media, like vertical movie mode and aspect markers.
Okay, so video is a clear strength. And tying back to the sensor, you mentioned low light for stills, but that applies to video too. And the R8 also has that expanded ISO minimum down to 50.
Right. The base ISO on the R7 is 100. The R8 can go down to 50 natively, which can be useful in bright light. But more importantly, its full-frame sensor just handles higher ISOs much better for clean video in low light. And let's not forget, portability. Canon calls the R8 its lightest full-frame RF mount camera, so you get that full-frame video quality in a relatively compact package.
Okay, this paints a pretty clear picture of two distinct cameras. Let's try and summarize the choice before we get into what actual users are saying. So boil it down. You should probably choose the R7 if you absolutely need that high burst speed for action, if the extended telephoto reach from the 1.6x crop factor is essential for your subjects like wildlife or sports, and if having that in-body stabilization, the IBS, is critical for your handheld shooting style.
Correct. High speed, maximum reach, and built-in stability define the R7's niche.
And you should lean towards the R8 if your top priority is that ultimate full-frame image quality, the low-light performance, the dynamic range, the shallow depth of field. Also, if you need the more advanced video features like the C-Log 3, the oversampled 4K, and especially that 2-hour continuous recording limit. And if you want the latest, smartest autofocus system with that expanded subject detection.
Precisely. The R8 is about that full-frame look, cutting-edge AF, and professional-level video capabilities in a lighter body.
All right, specs are one thing, but real-world use often tells a different story. Let's ground this in what actual owners are reporting. What's the feedback on the R7?
People generally praise the R7. They love the image quality, especially the 4K video. The controls are often called intuitive, and many feel it offers fantastic performance for its price point, considering the speed and features.
But there are always downsides. Any common complaints?
A couple pop up. Some users have noticed rolling shutter effects in video, particularly during fast pans, which is somewhat common with electronic shutters. And while the AF is generally good, some find it can get a bit hesitant or struggle sometimes in really challenging, very low light situations compared to the very top end systems.
Okay, understandable trade-offs perhaps. What about the R8 feedback? What are users loving and hating?
On the love side, the image quality. People rave about the beautiful full-frame stills in video. The autofocus tracking gets high marks too, that subject detection really works. And its lightweight makes it appealing as an entry point to full-frame mirrorless. Excellent value, many say.
Sounds great. But there's always a but.
There is, and it's a big one that comes up constantly. Battery life.
The classic mirrorless complaint amplified.
Apparently so, especially with the R8. Users consistently report that the battery drains very quickly, like shockingly quickly for some. The consensus seems to be you absolutely need multiple spare batteries, maybe 2 or 3 spares, just to get through a moderate day of shooting, especially if you're doing much video, let alone hitting that 2-hour record time.
Wow. Okay, that's not just a minor inconvenience. That's a major logistical factor you have to plan around.
It really is. It tempers the lightweight portability advantage somewhat if you're carrying 3 extra batteries. There are also some mixed comments on overall handling or button customization compared to higher-end bodies, but the battery is the dominant criticism.
That battery issue is crucial context. It means the R8, while offering maybe the better image quality on paper, comes with a significant practical headache. The R7, maybe not quite the ultimate sensor, but it offers reliability with its features like IBIS and perhaps more predictable battery performance for its class.
That's a good way to put it. Predictability versus peak potential, with a caveat.
So let's wrap this up. The final verdict seems pretty clear based on shooting style. The R7 looks like the action and wildlife photographer specialist built for speed, reach, and stability, ready for unpredictable outdoor conditions.
Yep, the field camera.
While the R8 is positioned more as the hybrid creator's tool, perfect if you need top-tier full-frame image quality for stills and advanced, reliable video features for client work or serious content creation, leveraging that smart AF.
The studio or controlled environment favorite, perhaps, where battery swaps are easier?
Your choice really boils down to where and what you shoot most often. Is it fast-moving, distant subjects in challenging conditions, or is it more controlled scenarios where image depth and video specs are paramount?
And that leads perfectly into the final thought we want to leave you with. Considering the R8 offers that fantastic full-frame quality and truly advanced autofocus, how much hassle are you really willing to put up with regarding that battery life? How many spare batteries will you carry? How much will you need to interrupt your shooting flow, especially for demanding video work, just to manage power? And on the flip side, does the R8's undeniable portability as the lightest full frame truly outweigh the practical, always-on advantage of the R7's built-in image stabilization when you inevitably find yourself forced to shoot handheld in less than ideal light? It forces you to decide. Is your workflow better served by the absolute peak quality, even with its demands, or by maximum practical readiness and stability?